Ulonga tabati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun ló fi bí pa. Ọba tálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Èṣù, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Ìwọ ló ń bọ̀ nílé. Kí ni ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ jára.
Alafia, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bami, and today we're joined by none other than our distinguished community elder, Oloye Baba Ifa Karade. Alafia, Baba, peace and blessings to you, Baba.
Wow, I'm feeling well, brother. I'm feeling stronger than I was yesterday, man. It seems to be like an infinite process. You know, I'm getting on my rowing machine and I'm doing sprints on the rower. You know what I mean? And this old body is like, you know what? There's a lot of kick left in you, man. So just go on out there, do what you have to do, be the messenger, be the OG say, but take care of your body, your mind, your spirit. Make sure your diet is right. You know, you got to resonate from within in order for people to resonate, you know, with you and the words that you deliver. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to deliver the word. All right, peace and blessings to everyone. All right, Baba Ifa Karade, we have homage to pay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I want to pay some homage to the mothers, man. It's been on my spirit, you know, with a lot of the mothers who have transitioned recently. We just saw that the sister Angie Stone transitioned, and in a bad car accident. Not too long before that, Nikki Giovanni transitioned, and then I think last week I saw that, the Queen Valletta Wallace, Biggie Smalls' mom, transitioned as well. And so it's like, I really want to pay homage to the mothers and the queens who have really been trendsetters and warriors and leaders of the generation and the culture in their own right. Because if you look at the legacy that a Queen Afeni Shakur took over when Pac transitioned, like she took his legacy and she built on to like multiple different levels. You know what I mean? Like Pac, people who from my era, 80s babies, we know that Pac dropped probably 25, 30 albums after he transitioned. And a lot of that goes back to the work ethic that his mom put in place for him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Biggie, when his mom passed away, like I think she doubled or tripled what his net worth was when he transitioned. So it's like we have to pay homage to the mothers, man, because the mothers, they are, those who pretty much run the marketplace. Like they have the most influence, So it's like that's something I want to start the show, Baba, with kind of paying homage to the mothers, but one question before we get into this hot topic, because everybody's loving the first episode, but what is your favorite mother moment with Emoja, Baba?
My famous mother moment with Yemoja.
Your favorite one, your favorite memory that you can think of with Yeye Emoja.
Yesterday. Right when we were on the podcast. There was a moment when I took a look at myself. And I'm sharing this because we family. All right. And without any hesitation. Okay. When I caught my profile, I didn't see me. I saw my mother. Okay. And I didn't just see her. She passed like 5, 6 years ago. But I felt her as if she was watching over me while I was right here, right now on this podcast, that I saw her watching over me from inside of me, through me. I'm like, okay, that's what we call Jinle. That's deep. That's profound. And I have to say that I've not felt that before. Now one might ask, well, okay, well then how do you connect that with Yemoja? And I'm like, how can I not connect it with Yemoja? Because Yemoja is the mother. And we might not look at it specifically from an Egun, like I was in an Egungun state of mind, possessed by the spirit of my mother, who had, transitioned. And I'm like, well, why can't they be both? You know, why can't the Yemoja, the bringing forth, the conceiving, and we talked about Yemoja on an earlier podcast. You know, she who gives birth to the rivers, Oshun, you know, the Ogun River where we find Oya, okay, the Nile, okay, the Kwanzaa River. All of these rivers are our mothers. So when my mother saw through me myself, if you're following my train of thought, then I more deeply embrace the mothers because my mother's a mother. And Yemoja is the mother. And the Gelede, you know, who give homage and offerings to her are here with us. Our mothers live through us. Yemoja lives through us. We don't go out to get Yemoja. Yemoja comes to us from within, like my mother did just yesterday. Okay. And that's the answer to the question, my brother. That's all I need to say right now.
Ashe. No, that was powerful, Baba. That was powerful. That was like very powerful. Yeah. So look, I want to jump right in, man, because I feel like the last one we did, you know, with the readers and diviners, it was like I got a chance to rewatch it. And there was a couple of parts that really stood out to me. But one of them was towards the end when you were saying that being, you know, blessed to be the OG and being a Babalawo for the sake of delivering healing and, you know, empowerment and education for our people, and that, you know, to deliver the blessings of the ancestors. And so it's like when I was listening to it, it was dope because I could just, it was kind of like one of those moments where you kind of like change scenes, kind of like in the Black Panther when T'Challa went to the realm of the ancestors. It's like you could just hear the echoing of the voice. You know, it's like the frequency, the energy octave, you know, that the frequency is operating on. So it's like I could feel it. And it's like that's something that I think has definitely been ever present as of late as well. It's like the blessings of the ancestors. So it's like, how does all this tie into, you know, where we left off on part one, where we're picking up in part two? How does these elements of the feminine energy and the ancestors play into the process of reading or divining for reading and divination?
Okay, so to address the question, you know, and then take it to a broader, you know, a response to the topic of the day. It's like, well, let's face it, if it was not for our ancestors, we would not have the implements and the interpretation of the divinatory implements that are and have been set before us. I mean, even in this patriarchal society, you know, that we grow up in, with the whole, you know, macho man thing, you know what I mean? We of Ifani Sheshe, okay, via the blessings of our ancestors, know that the feminine essence is to be honored, respected, upheld, okay? And without that essence, when we look at even the Marindi Logun, okay, that was developed by the Oshun essence. And when we look at it from an ancestral point of view, those Oshun essences are part and parcel of the archetypes of the women born as little baby girls who grow up to give birth to little baby girls and boys. Okay. So the transference of essence, the transference of spirit. Yes, it takes the male factor, but that child doesn't stay inside of the male body for 9 months, give or take. That child is inside of the womb of the mother. Okay. And that exchange goes deeper than any other exchange basically on the planet. Okay, people still trying to figure out what happens to the mother, to the child during that gestation period, you know, during that time of the child's growth. But one of the things that we do know that happens is exchange of chromosomes. Okay, we do know that hereditary factors come into play. We do know that genetic factors come into play. And what we are coming to a greater knowledge of is that there's a spiritual transference. So as I stated in response to your opening question, and that is this line between Egun and Orisha is not as pronounced, it's not as thick as we are kind of led to believe it is. Okay, because now deeper thought, deeper introspection, deeper research. Okay, because there are people who are writing essays about this that are somewhat out of the norm of regard in regards to accessibility. Okay, so ancestors, Orishas, and that's why we can say that our ancestors are Orishas and our Orishas are our ancestors. And the divinatory processes that they have left for us, that they have bestowed upon us, come about as their experiences in the physical world pragmatically. Okay, how do we make the divinatory process work for us? And that doesn't mean manipulation. It means what are they in terms of implements of change, implements of that deeper introspection that must occur, not a leisurely pursuit, but what must occur so that we develop into the better of ourselves. And if even possible, the best of ourselves, despite the chaos of the world, despite the challenges, despite the burdens that we bear. The divinatory process is to assist us in embracing the divine and realizing the value and importance of our bodies, physically speaking and metaphysically speaking. This is where it all comes into view. What mother doesn't want to protect her child, regardless of the species? Okay. So when we look to divination, we are looking to our mothers because we are in the womb. The earth itself, Onile, the earth itself is considered our mother. And as we tread this earthly plane, we look within. We look within, we journey within. And like what happened yesterday, the mother comes through us and we see our ancestral glory and we abide by it. We abide by it. Okay. And that's what I would say up to this point, my brother, in response to your question.
That was powerful, Baba. That was powerful. And it's funny because it brought me back to another time. Like when I was rewatching part one, it brought me back to when you were talking about, well, the conversation went pretty deep in regards to possession. And so I remember one time, the last time I recall after listening to the show from 2 days ago was that when we did the episode with Ye Oya, you remember that one we did when we had something going on with the technology and we had to do it like the next night, and then the next night happened to be, I believe it was Osei Shango Oya Day, and it was like it was amazing because she was in the backdrop, and then it was like everything was just in alignment, but the energy you could tell when it shifted and it changed, when it was some sort of like next level, where it kind of went into that, that zone. And so it's like it's amazing just to see how things happen organically, but just how the presence of energy is so powerful and so limitless. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a beautiful thing. And I think that's where I feel like the power in divination is, to be able to see into the past, present, and future, you know, from an outside scope, almost like satellites around the planet. You know what I mean? It's like how you can kind of tap into, you know, the realms of reality. So with that, how can we pick back up on part 2 in regards to where we left off with you and your bag on part 1 with the readers and the difference between readers and diviners, Baba?
All right. So for this evening, there are 5 points that I wanted to touch on, and in no specific order, and in no specific time, because see, as I stated about the books that I've written and the lectures that I've given, you know, that they're all parts of a puzzle, you know. Uh, I need for people to listen intently or read intently and kind of figure, okay, well, this is the part and this is the part. Now, how I put it together becomes a unique picture for me. You know, your lawyer is not trying to give me the program, because then he would be basically like everybody else, you know, programming. Okay. And you know, the term I use, cookie cuttering, you know, that everybody got to do the same thing the same way and see the same picture. You know, that is insane. That is madness. Okay. You put the pieces together the way that best suits you. And if you find that over time you need to move the pieces around and change things a bit, well, that's what it's designed to do. You know? The whole process is designed to not be static and to not be caught in cultural inertia. There's too many ways that I can prove that that is a falsity. You know, oh, well, we got to do it like our ancestors. There ain't nowhere in the world you can do it like your ancestors. So quit tripping, you know, and following something that somebody set down on a piece of paper, you know. So again, I'm going to get into all that. So please, you know, hold on to your elecades, because see, these are times when we have to go deep. You know, we have to go deep. All this playing around and, you know, regurgitating and bouncing up and down behind stuff, those days are over. And like I heard the brothers say today, they down there in Mississippi, some daggone where, and the brothers is strapped, they armed, you know, and the newscasters were out there. Oh, well, why you got your guns, and why all of y'all standing out here, you know, on the middle of the daggone, you know, highway, you know, with your arms? And the brother was like, because we're here to protect, and especially protect our women, because they were harassed by people out there with Confederate flags yesterday, and a call was made, and so today we out here, you know,
We're here
because
now.
we know that we have strength. We here now. But what he said and how he was laying it down, young blood, you know what I mean? It's like, quiet don't work no more. I was like, yo,
Never has. It never has.
quiet don't work no more. Y'all wasn't out here when they was raising these Confederate flags, threatening our women and our children. You wasn't out here with your news cameras then. But now we out here to protect as men. And now you out here wanting to know what's going on. He was like, quiet don't work no more. I was like, my brother, you know? So
Mm,
when it comes down to, you know, divining and working with Ifa, Isheshe, you know, those times when being fearful, and those times when being in the basement, and those times when, you know, behind closed doors, and the spookism and the demonizing and all that kind of stuff, that don't work no more.
mm,
Okay.
mm.
We have to be out here intelligently with the IQ high, emotionally with the IQ high, spiritually with the IQ high. Our social construct has to be cohesive and cooperative. Okay. And our adversity IQ needs to be at an all-time high, because the stresses and strains of just life itself, much less an oppressive society. So now when it comes down to the divinatory process, Okay. We do have to engage ourselves with the question of what is the purpose?
Mm.
Okay. What is the purpose of going for divination as, let's just say, a shade of yellow? Okay. And what is the purpose of going to get a reading?
Mm.
Okay. Now, people, I'm going to get a reading. I'm going to get a reading. I'm going to Baba so-and-so or Ear so-and-so to get a reading. I'm encouraging the priestly to start sharing with people in mass. Change your vocabulary in order to change your consciousness and your state of mind. You can call somebody up on the phone and get a psychic reading. You can go to a tarot card reader and get a reading. You can go to the Valley Fair, and the people got their reading tables up. You can go through all of that and get a reading. But when you come to somebody who's going through initiation, travel to the continent, connected with the Orisha and the ancestors, and you're going to get a reading, it's like, no, we're going to raise the bar, because the purpose need be, I'm coming for divination because I'm seeking to become more divine. Diviner, help me to accomplish that goal. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get there, but this calling is not letting me rest. Okay. And if somebody contacts me with something, like all the way to the left, I'm like, well, shoot, you could have gone to a reader to do that. Because see, divination means that we're pulling out the divine in you. And then the Orisha, okay, again, as portals to that divinatory, that divine essence, that mother in you, to bring forth the betterment and the best of you. Okay. Now, if you're not willing, or if you feel as though this is just some kind of, experience that you want to have, I understand it. I understand where you're coming from. But you need to understand as well, because most of us, we're a little older than 16 and 17 years old. To come to grips with the fact that the responsibility is ultimately on us, not ultimately on the Orisha, not ultimately on the Odu, not ultimately on Orisha. It's just not. Okay? This whole sky god thing and the angels and all that kind of stuff, that don't work no more. Okay? Because we've brought ourselves via initiations, via the callings that we have, to come to a divine state of existence. And I tell people, and they would get a little, real quiet, because I say, Ifa and Isheshe is not my religion. It's not my religion. I no longer look at it as my religion. I've been divining for people for 30, 40 years. I've been making their bones for 20, 40, 50 years. It's like at some point, it becomes beyond the point. Okay. Let's say it's not my religion. Okay. And the whole Elays get quiet. Let's say it's my existence. So when you come to me for divination, you're coming to enhance your existence. Okay. Not to follow basically the way that you've been taught to follow religious constructs. Okay. And how you see religion is more of a way of how you've been taught to see it than how your ancestors are guiding you to embrace it. And that's one of those walls that have to be broken through, climbed over, or somebody help you to climb over it, but we got to get over it. Okay. Now, again, this is only this school of thought. All right. So when we look at purpose, we look at readers can read. Okay. There's times I remember working in flea markets, one right in the heart of Newark. The big, like four-story building that was wide as a daggone large parking lot. There were all kinds of people there. And I had to set up behind African fabric business. You know, sister and I were cool. You know, everything worked out. She said, well, you know, Baba, you can take the back when people come in and get, you know, their African garb or whatever. What a perfect time. So set up the sign, you know, people come in for readings. And at that time, okay, I'm going to share this with you. I was using the Obi Abata. Okay. And you see, I still have them. Glued the cowrie shells on. Ko, the male, Abo, the female. 4 of them. Okay. Now, in terms of, well, you know, how to divine and what the purpose is, well, Ejife, reading from top to bottom, dark, light, light, dark. Okay, that looks like ED. Okay, so now we're going to talk about things. All right. So you see, even with those 4, I had not made priesthood. You see, now I continued after I did, but because I took it upon myself to start learning and exploring, because I was refining myself. I wasn't doing it to exploit, nor manipulate, nor put myself on some sort of delusional pedestal. It's like this divinatory process is going to help make me a better person. Okay. And that was back in the 80s and whatnot. You understand? And then coming into the early part of the 90s, to be more specific, you know, as I traveled the timeline of my existence. But see, it's divination that helped to improve my existence. The relationship with the Orisha, the relationship with Orumila, the relationship with Olodumare, the relationship with the Egun, they're all part of that, but they are just part of it. I am it. And that's not ego. That's self-realization and self-acceptance and self-responsibility. Got to start limiting self-inflicted wounds, you know, start limiting misconceived notions and start questioning, you know, educational information as opposed to researched and referenced information. You see the difference here? So when we talk about the purpose of a diviner, that's there. A reader may not take you in that direction. That more than likely will not be the road, if you understand. That will not be the road. It'll be oh, well, this and this and that is that, and you're gonna meet somebody, you know, tall, dark, and handsome, or you know, there's people who don't like you in the world, and you know what I mean. And I see here, you know, you're having love problems and all that kind of stuff. Only yeah, okay, who doesn't? But the whole point is that the reader will only take you to what I consider, and again, this is just me. Okay, I consider, you know, a level 1, you know, type of interaction. And it's not even really an interaction because they're not really talking with you. They're talking to you. You know, this is this and that is that. And you got to do this and got to do that. Real short story. Young sister goes to get a reading, you know, because she wants to get a young man, you know, not only interested in her, but to become her man. So the reader says, okay, do this, that, and this and that, and you're going to get him. Okay. So the sister does that, you know, and it's an old tale. It's prevalent. It goes around, you know, the whole thing with the women's cycle and putting it in the food and all that kind of stuff. See, a reader would tell you that for the most part. Okay. And now the young girl goes and does it. And the guy falls in love with her and they get thing, but come to find out, you know, he's brutal. You understand? And when things don't go his way, he gets real twisted. So the sister goes back to the reader and says, you told me that, I would get the man to love me and da. But now, I come to find out that he's brutal and it's going against me. And the reader says, well, hey, you came for the reading. I gave you what you wanted. You paid me, but you aren't willing to deal with the consequences. You aren't willing to do anything except to come back to me. I have nothing to do with it. You got what you wanted. You see? And that's no slight against readers. You understand? But we get into the conjure woman kind of thing, and we get into the conjure man and the High John the Conqueror and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And that might work for some people, and they may be able to take those kind of hits, or not. But the whole thing is they don't go to a diviner. Okay. And this is where I urge diviners to start more so exercising divinity, so that you would never tell a person that they could use something to get somebody else and not be held accountable for what happens to that person, because you got the money, because you praying on not over them, but you praying them like they're prey. There has to be a stop from that. That don't work no more. You understand? Okay. So diviners, divine, but you got to be divine to assist the people to become divine. And that brings us to this. Okay. When you start really flipping the pages beyond the syncretism, you start to see the Babalawos back in the day. They were generally very poor, and I say that in a material sense. And I of course I ponder it. Do I want to be poor? Do I want to be like some of like the Buddhist monks and whatever? Door to door, and they live on the offerings that people give them, not the offerings that the people give to the deities. And if I were to say, all right, Babalaos, all of y'all, okay, we're just going to have to live off of what people give us. I wonder how many of us would really starve to death. Just starve to death right in front of the people. But see, back in the day, there was more reverence for the Babalawos, and the Orishas, Ears and Babas. More reverence. And people seem to know the difference between going to get a reading or elder consultation, whereas like when I was in Ejibo, the elders came out. They weren't initiated priests and priestesses. The first people that I met, they went into the back room. I saw them with the obi. They cast the obi and then came back and shared with me some of the things they had to say. They gave me elder consultation. And the tenets of Ifa even state wise consultation before divination. You understand? But we don't hear that because it's not good business. Time is money. You understand? So at any rate, Babalawos were poor. And I pondered that right up until this morning. What do I have here? Light, dark, light, light. Okay. Otura. But anyway, so people would come to the Babalawos, and if the people, or let's just say in this case, the person couldn't afford the fee, the Babalawo was still divine for them. If the person couldn't afford the abos, the Babalawo would negotiate with the Orisha. Okay, well, what else can we do? Or if the Babalawo had a little surplus or whatever, they would make the ebo for the person who came to them for divination, not to get a reading. You see? So when folks start talking about, oh, well, we want to, we don't want to change the way that we do, we find these shay, and this is the way our ancestors did it. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You just want to keep doing what you're doing. So why don't you just say that? Because see, you're not looking in the past to move into the future. You're just looking at the present. That's called presentism. You're just gauging everything from where you are right here, right now. Okay. You're not talking about what your ancestors did, because you're not even studying it. You're just going on, whatever your notion is. Okay. But again, deliberation, wise consultation before initiation. Okay. So now we have the Babalawos who are poor. Okay. And I'll use that word in floating quotation marks, because even up till this morning, okay, it was like, what is poor? Okay. And something that I read across, I'm reading Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, Between Two Worlds, a powerful read, okay? Powerful read. And it was triggering things within, within my mind, in terms of, if I am without any overriding desire or need to have a materialistic world, then I'm not seeking to exploit others. If I'm not, as a person of spirit, more interested in my spiritual enrichment, then how can I get others to be interested in their spiritual enrichment? And it may seem as though I'm poor because I don't have all the material gains that one equates to being enriched or rich, or having made it, having been successful, when I'm like, the strength of my spirit makes it so I can divine for you, so that I can assist you in becoming the greatness that you are. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay if I have to be alone. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay if I don't get the brand new car, or if I don't wear the fanciest clothes, or I don't drink, the most expensive of champagnes. I'm okay with that. That is not my pursuit of happiness. That I'm not in pursuit of that. I'm in pursuit of developing myself, of existing in a pure state of mind. And part of that is what I give to you. Part of that is what I give to you. So, we gauge our success based on what our ancestors have left us. Okay. And as always, please understand that I'm just coming from this, okay? This who I am. Okay. Just like in the past, there were different Babalawos who had different teachings for people. Just like, again, the Shaolin temples, I know I make those kind of connections, but everyone didn't teach the same style. Everyone didn't teach the same way. There were different schools throughout the martial art planes of practice. Okay, you have judo, you have karate. You have this style and that style. You know what I mean? You got tai chi. You got jujitsu. You got everything. But the point is, they're all martial arts, and you have different teachers, senseis, whatever, teaching in different ways. And the same goes for philosophers. You have different philosophers teaching philosophy, but different ways. Okay. Well, upon study of Babalawos, the same thing was happening. You see, we're still stuck in the cookie cutter. We're still stuck in the one is the only way. This or that, as opposed to our ancestral recognition of this and that. Okay. So again, from this school of thought, okay, from this humble soul, this is what I deliver. This is the word that I deliver. Now I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to bring it down a little bit, take any, questions and all. But there was a time when it was debatable whether I was going to become an Obatala priest, or, here we go with the or thing again, or an Ifa priest. Okay. Now, I don't know if a lot of the elays and the syncretism have kind of worked that out, but I do know that for quite a period of time, it was like one or the other. Now I bring this up because it's a specific question or core question was that, well, if you become an Ifa priest, then you don't get possessed. And that core question came from me. And I'm like, why not? Okay. Said, well, that's for the Orishas. They get the Bembeys, they get the holy Orisha, you know what I mean? And they get possessed and, this, that, and the other thing. Well, then Babalawos, we don't do that. I'm like, okay. So when I'm taking my Iroke and I'm tapping on the board and I'm, chanting to Arumila Gio, Arumila Gio, Arumila Gio, Biolo Leo do Kio wa Ileo, Biolo Leo K, Kio wa Ileo, Biolo Leo do Kio wa Ileo. You mean that prayer, that chant, that tapping does not bring about a state of possession? And I question all of them. I'm like, here we go. You're setting up a hierarchy, which basically says we better than them other folks. Yeah. And I'm like, no, we are not. No, we are not. And that state of possession allows at least me to be more than a regurgitator of something that is memorized, but a channel of that which is spiritualized. And that's what I give to the person who comes to me for divination. So I'm weighing the two, but meanwhile, I'm practicing, I'm getting to know things, you know what I mean? And then the door opens and it says, you can do both. Here in Ejibo, you'll become the Obatala priest and you'll become the Ifa priest. And you will be Omo Orisha. You are a descendant of all the Orishas. And I carry that to this day. And that was back in the 80s and the early 90s. So does the Babalawo get possessed? Yes. Does the EM Babalorishas divine with implements? Yes. The Obi and the Aryan de Logon. So if the Baba and Ears can be diviners and get possessed, why can't the diviners get possessed and also divine? They're possessed with the spirit of Arumila. They're possessed with the spirit of the Odu. So the only way that you're going to not get that is to kind of build a wall around your spirituality and walk around like the freaking Pope or whatever, you know what I mean? And then expect people to become more spiritualized because they're in your presence? No, they become more politicalized. It becomes a matter of politics and not a matter of spiritual growth and ascension.
I sure.
And this is why I got the threats. And this is why my books were burned. And this is also why I'm still here.
Sure.
You know? So at this point, my brother, questions, comments?
Yep. Yeah, we got some questions. Shagatta's got a question. She wants to know, Boye, Shishe, Babas, and family. Question: are we allowed to wear other ilekes other than a rumula or your head Orisha? What's your thoughts, Baba?
Of course. Of course. Okay. I got on all these lecades now. There'll be Babalawos where, you know, you were in the Orisha lecades where you're a Babalawo. You should just have the corals, you know, and the this and the that. And how come you don't do this? And you, that's not a really day. I'll come across them and you don't get out my face. I mean, really, with all that bull crap, man. It's like, what? You know, is this a fashion show? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? We were just walking around to try to look like we something.
So, but there are.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but there are establishments where that does happen, though, man. And I feel like,
Oh,
and I'm not even going to call out no particular, you know, niche, but I'll just say that, you know, it really is more. I feel like about the work, you know, and the diving into the divine. You know what I mean? The divine in divination, diving into that. You know what I'm saying? Divine. So it's like I feel like that's what matters more than all the you know, the fashion show and all that. But you said something then though, like you
well, you know,
you pick it
drum
back
brother.
up.
You know, I'm just the drum. When you call on me, they all coming. Okay. So
Look, you can't just pick and choose which one.
no, because they all there.
I know that's
Family turn out. You know what
yes.
I mean? And if they sick, they coming in rolling in wheelchairs or whatever. It's like, oh, we coming, we gonna represent.
By any means
By
necessary.
any and all means necessary.
Yes,
But Shah got it. In answer to your question, my sister, it's like there's nothing on this planet or in the cosmos that need stop you from learning about and coming to know what those elekes symbolize and how they become a part of your life, your existence, and how you come on, you're a grown woman, you know. Even asking somebody permission, you know, is a sidestep into, you know, a trap, if you will, of dependency. You know, it's like you see that of those elekes, and you take your spiritual bath and whatever you can get your hands on that feels spiritual to you, and you light your candles and you breathe in the essence of spirit. Again, you're a grown woman. You're not a teenager. Like you can't commune with spirit, and your mother's all over you and running all through you and talking about child who you need to ask for permission to be who we are. What is this? You know, what is this? Is this African? No, trust me, it's not. It's not. And if somebody tells you no and you don't agree with them, then you be like, okay, I asked you, I got your point of view, but I'm like, yo, I'm going to do it anyway. Why? Because I can. Because I can. You know, I can. I'm grown. Okay. I'm grown and I'm spiritually mature. I've raised kids. I got grandkids and they all doing just fine. So there's going to be a lot of decisions that I'm going to make for myself. And you may have position, but trust me when I say it's more delusional than real. Okay? It's an illusion of power. Because real power would be like, yes, sister, divinely embrace yourself. And if it takes a couple of beads around your neck to help you on that, then fine. Then fine. Okay? So in answer to your question, yes, rather now somebody told you no, now somebody telling you yes. But at the end of the day, ultimately, make your decision. Make your decision. Okay.
Look, what the king of pop say, MJ, what MJ say? I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
Yay, boy. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else before I go into round 3? You know what I mean? You know, got a little cut under my eye, but I'm good. You know, you know,
Nah,
pack it up,
yeah,
man. Pack.
yeah, we got a couple more. Donna, she was saying, is that why, we stress like the importance of following Ori? That's exactly why I say, like, that's why I try to stress it, because there is no, I feel like, outside of like Dafa, I don't know that, Baba, you correct me if I'm wrong or you have a different perspective, but I don't feel like there might be a higher, I feel like, connectivity or frequency in regards to communication with spirit than your Ori. I don't know outside of Dafa, or you know what I mean, like any other tools or systems that you feel like that might be higher than that or stronger, and I'm not saying that one is, of or above the other, but I just feel like that's the significance and the power, I feel like, in the communication transmission, between the two, separate, I would say, portals or lines of communication, right? So I feel like that's where the significance of following the Ori is so monumental, because the Ori, like you say, Baba, is the only Orisha that's with us, before we come into the bodies, here on Onile, and is there with us the whole time after, we transition out of the bodies, back into the land of the ancestors. So it's like, that's a very powerful, there is no separation to that connection. So, if we're working on strengthening that personal priesthood and like strengthening that personal internal connection, then I would dare to say, that would be the equivalent of operating out, or I should say, inside of the womb of our mothers, because we're inside of the portal of creation and we're connected directly, like a hardwire connection with the umbilical cord. So if we're that connected that same way with ourselves, our spirit or ourselves, then yeah, we should definitely work on strengthening that connection, because I feel like that's like a lightning bolt within itself in regards to connectivity.
Yes, yes, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Okay. And just to kind of add to, and harmonize with your response. And I tell people all the time, it's not called, Obatala Shah, it's not called Oshun Shah, it's not called Shango Shah, I mean? I could go on to like 401 Orisha, okay? Irumole. It's called Orisha. And we seem to miss that, okay? Orisha, okay? The empowerment of the Ori. And the Ori is not just seen as the head or the mindful essence within the head. Ori, ancestrally speaking, is the entire body. And you know how many cells there are in the body. There are trillions of cells in the body, just like there's trillions of stars and trillions of galaxies. We are, okay, comprised of trillions of cells, and the space between cells, 97 or so percent of us is space. So that inner communication, even the synapses in our brain and all of the communicative, processes that are going on right now as we speak, we listen, we talk, all of that is going on. This is Orisha. This is the power of Orisha, and being conscious of that, being able to put the introspective processing of that is what I would definitively state is what involvement in Ifa and Orisha is all about. It has to be. It has to be. What else could it possibly be? So coming out of the shadows of Catholicism, okay? Coming out of the shadows of our Christian upbringing, okay? And kind of filtering through what is really beneficial for the spiritual introspection and coming forth of self and being the embodiment of divinity, we start to learn, relearn. We start to think, rethink. We start to calibrate and recalibrate. And then we reach the realm of resurrection. You understand? Resurrection. Because we are literally coming up from the dead. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And the divinatory process assists in that. But it is not confined to what some priestly person tells you. It is more a matter of being walked with until you can tell it to yourself. Until you come to a self-realization that you are the embodiment of spirit, that you are your mother's, and that the Father essence in you is because of the mother essence that gave birth to the Father. This whole paternal father in the sky kind of thing, that don't work no more. Okay? The recognition is with the mothers. So then we start to understand what our purpose is as diviners and those who are seeking divination. Again, you can call somebody on the phone and get a psychic reading, okay? Be happy. But if you're going to cross the river and come over here, okay? This is where it's time, like to, kind of own up to your existence, not to your conformity, seeking to conform others or seeking to be conformed by others. Good for business, bad for ancestral recognition and ancestral resurrection. The choice is yours, ultimately. Okay? So that said,
we got
yeah.
one more, Baba. If you got time, we got one more question. I wanted to wait to put it up
time.
at the same time. That way, see what your answer want to be. So with this one, DJ Kiko wants to know. Let me find it real quick. He wants to know about a particular form of divination. Here we go. All right. So the question is, can I give myself a reading with oracle cards in front of my warriors, Olokun, Shango, the Ibejis? Is this correct?
It's not incorrect. Okay. And I'm trusting, okay, that by you saying you're giving it to yourself, that's what it's contained in. When my Ile was up and running for the whole 21 plus years, I emphatically stated, do not read or divine or whatever you want to call it for anybody else without their permission. Without their permission. Without them asking you to. Do not ever take it upon yourself to, so-and-so told me they have problems, so I'm going to do a reading and then I'm going to tell them what the reading is about. That is taboo. That is ewo. Don't play. Do not play. This is not, the little sandbox out on the freaking playground or on the beach or some daggone where. This is grown folk stuff. All right? So, DJ, a quick go. If you are serious about confronting various aspects of yourself more so than situations, I would say a resounding yes. Okay? If you are looking to change yourself in order to change the situation, enhance the situation by enhancing you, not, oh, Shango going to come and do this. No, Shango's going to show me what's best to do to help myself and as a result, help others. If you take that directive, then again, a resounding yes. But if you approach out of the shadows, you know, because you want to manipulate the situation, then I would warn you. Okay. I would warn you, not for fear, but out of love. Okay. Because we don't want to see people get twisted up. So, yes. Okay. Again, I'm inferring based on your question and the mere fact that you're here, that you straight up. Okay. All right. So, yes. Then that said, DJ Quico, then I would say you have my support, brother.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, that I thought that was a good question. I definitely want to get your opinion and perspective on it and see what you felt about it. So, in regards to like something that you just said to him, and part of the answer to his question, you said about pretty much gaining access or the assistance from the characteristics of a particular Orisha when he was asking about, divining in front of those particular deities. So now when we go back to the divination thing, one of the energies and deities who I feel like is not really known of, especially in regards to people who are newer to the tradition of the faith, but that I would say, in true Ashe fashion, to return back to where we started, Odu, Baba, the significance of Odu when it comes to Ifa and the deliverance of the message.
All right. I want to address this first. It's a spiritual violation to do that without permission. That I know, I don't understand.
She's pretty much following up to your answer to the question about divining for other people. When you were advising DJ Kiko to only divine for himself, she was pretty much co-signing what you were saying.
Okay. All right. Just for clarity, that's all. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can we take that down then?
Oh yeah. So yeah, my question was, yes, sir.
All right. Now, are we talking about Odu as the personification of the female, or the 16 plus 240 Odu?
Personification of the feminine energy. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So here we have, Odu becomes a wife of Orunmila. Now, we remember from past podcasts that this whole thing about being husband, wife, and all that, it's more about energies and archetypes than actual flesh and bone. You know what I mean? So here we have Orunmila basically going through what we're going through right here, right now. You know, from your opening statement, even before we started the podcast, was that recognition and that homage of the essence and need for not the female, which kind of gets a little, twisted, but for the feminine essence manifesting through the female. Empowered on this earth by the female. So Orunmila clearly came to understand that without that, there was a lot missing from the Odu. Because for the most part, when we look at all the 16 major Odu, if we were to personify them, anthropomorphize them, they would all be males. And then that lends to questionable perspectives. If everything is from a male perspective, and the female as the manifestation of the feminine energy, okay, is not present nor prevalent, then somebody with the insight of Orumila, okay, would say something needs to be done about this. Okay. And even if we don't have, a woman represented as an Odu, then we have to have that female essence up in there, the feminine essence, circulating throughout. And it's even going to be so that the males cannot speak unless through the feminine essence. There is no Odu being spoken without speaking the Odu. Okay, so if for I cast today and it's Editora, then I'm speaking the Odu, but the only reason I can't speak it is because of the Odu, which is a feminine essence. Now I can say what has to be said, and I could be so possessed with the spirit of Orumila, and I could be so possessed by the spirit of the Odu as so named, but I can't bring it into this world without her. I can't bring it into the world without her. To speak the Odu is to give homage to her. No? And the secrecy of her bearing is more of the ensuring that is held as sacred. And this is where translation, kind of trips me up as I'm watching other people tripping up or tripping behind it. Because when all of these insights are translated from oral to written, two things are happening. One is the interpretation of the person who's doing the translation and where they're coming from, mostly who have been Europeanized, okay? And then there's just terminology, period, even if people speak the same language. And if I look at that word in Yoruba and I see sacredness, but somebody else sees secret, then who's right and who's wrong? Again, different schools of thought based on different interpretive processes of people. So the Odu is not secret as much as it is sacred. And where does that sacredness come from? It comes from within the diviner, within those who are devoted to Odu. If you don't see it as sacred, how can anybody else see it as sacred? If you are exploiting others because of it, and they know it, but they just don't have the strength to step off of that little hamster cage that you got them going on with false promises, okay? So they can't stop because you don't hold the Odu as sacred. You'd rather say it's a secret because that makes you feel like you got something. I got a secret. Well, if you got a secret, then you should be doing what? I mean, really, well, what should you be doing with your secret? Oh, so you pumping up your head with it, okay? But if you hold it as sacred, I'm passing on to you, my brother. I'm passing on to you, my sister. I'm passing on to you sacred knowledge. But I have to be bringing it to you from within. And this is where Odu is. It's not so much that it's feminine. it's that it's sacred. And the feminine, as a result, needs to be held as sacred. Even the feminine inside of myself. So this is the power of the personification, the bringing forth of the Odu as an archetype.
I should. Yes, sir. I got one more for you, Baba. One more, man, because this is it's another one of those ones. You mentioned something in regards to if we looked at the Odu, the 16 Odu, if we looked at them, I guess kind of like not necessarily a metaphorical aspect, but just from a certain perspective, that it would be pretty much looked at as all male dominant, like from a patriarchal perspective. So I know there are two schools of thoughts in regards to how, some people who practice Ifa Sheshe have one frame of mind and thought, but then others have another frame of mind and thought. So me being one that I feel like we both are in alignment with this same frame of thought in regards to honoring and reverencing the feminine aspects of not just Ifa Sheshe, but of the universe, of creation, right? So when you say that about Odu, and then I feel like I'm going to speak for me, I'm personally against or opposed to a patriarchal archetype of wanting to run a society, because it has to have balance, and without the mothers there is no balance. And if we're talking about the sacred sciences and the history of our spiritual traditions back into antiquity, you have to factor in that the lineage of any king in any kingdom that I know of personally has to come from the matriarchal side of the family, the mother's line, the bloodline, the mitochondrial line of your creation, right? So we know, as well as with those who study Ifa Sheshe, that the Odu, or I should say the pot or the shrine of Ifa, is to be given the male, like as in a male person, the womb, as if to be able to kind of like tap into the feminine essence of the Odu. Is that correct, Baba?
I would say so. The Agire that holds the I King.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Symbolic of the earth goddess Onile, symbolic of the sacredness of the feminine essence. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
And things
powerful.
they don't teach you in ELA school. You understand? You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. That's
But it's
powerful.
okay.
Yeah,
And it's documented.
yeah,
Again, but see, this is why this podcast is so important, because everybody's not, going to get the big books and then I understand that. You know what I
right.
mean? If
Mhm.
that's the case, there would be no need to go to school, college, or train. You get with people who have gone deep into what you want to get a little bit of something of.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
So we're here to say, okay, on the Ashe channel, that we're going deep so that you can get what you need to get. And then you can come back and get some more. You can come back when you want to, how you want to. Okay. So the whole thing is to be a part of the process. But trust me when I say that Baba Orisha Bemi, myself, and the OJ Institute, okay, apocalypse, and people who work with us privately, okay, they're getting the best that we have to give. Okay. They're not getting the runaround. They're not getting to, go do this and go do that. Go get this and go get that. It's like, put yourself in a position of learning, of having a prior knowledge base, of having a global perspective, so that you can harness that knowledge in order to break through the miscasting, the misconceiving, and the misconceived notions of who you have accepted yourself to be. You just can't embrace the ancestral and still be chained to the oppressive notions of self and this directive of giving up your body, of giving up your intelligence, of giving up your maturity, of giving up your age level responsibility, because that's what the larger group wants you to do. We're trying to say that, no, we're not trying to say it, we're saying it, okay? That you are going to be ultimately responsible for yourself, and that you are going to be ultimately responsible to assist in others to find themselves. It's not as important to be surrounded by 10,000 Orisha pots and you can't even make a decision for yourself. You know, you have no sense of power over yourself. That needs to be corrected. And I stand here, okay, in the midst of all of the stones that are thrown and all of the threats that are made. I stand here and I say, I know that this is truth. It's not my truth. I know that this is truth. It is the ultimate truth. How can it not be? How can it not be? All right. So, this whole thing about diviners getting possessed. Now, when Babalawos get together, I would challenge them to tell me something about the ancient Babalawos. I would challenge them. Because see, mostly what I've experienced about Babalawo, especially coming up, you know, with the whole syncretism thing, is that again, it's more political. It's more, you know what I mean, the who I am, and you know. Now, when people utilize the Merindi Logun, talk about divination, and anything that comes down beyond 12, okay, then they would send I'll just use devotee, you know, or pseudo devotee to a Babalawo. So folks out there studying the Erindi Logun, you got to remember that at first there was 20 cowrie shells back in the day. Okay, people would divine with 20, if not 21. So at a certain point, Eshu, as an act of reciprocity, you know, he did something for the Orishas, and now something had to be given for those who were reading or impacted by readings. And so 4 of them were taken away, which left 16. So when we say the Erindi Logun, it's really 20 minus 4, and that leaves you with the 16. So when you go get a divination and the 16 cowrie shells are put out, and the diviner sees, let's just say, 13 up, or 14 up, or 15 or 16, then the due process is to give you a little bit of what to say, but then you go seek a Babalawo. Okay. Now, also take note of the fact that the Odu for the EM Babalorishas is in a different order than that for the Babalawos. I've found some people get a little, you know, confused by that. Okay. So if you're a priestess of Oshun and you're casting, you have the same name of the Odus, but they're in a different order than what the Ifa priest would have. That is something that, you know, came out of how things develop. Okay. And we can also say that the order of the Odu for the Babalawos is different, say in Oyo state, than it is for the Benin. So nothing is really like carved in stone. So when people get all uptight about, oh, this is Odu and this is what it says and all of that, it's like, you know, you're still caught in that cultural inertia that you know nothing about. It's like you stuck in the middle of an intersection past the stop sign and you just there wait on cars coming by and everything. It's like you just stop there. It's like you don't want to move because you feel as though that's where you should be, but you don't know that you're supposed to go or back up or turn right or turn left. You just standing there like, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. And you don't know, Jack. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know, and you won't study, and you only take what really reinforces your ignorance.
Wow.
Okay? What reinforces your ignorance. So that's not a put down. I do understand. But for somebody who's been in this for a lot of years and did what everything was moving to do, even up to this very moment, is to say that we need to open up and study. If we're going to look at what it is to be a Babalawo, then why not start getting research papers and why not start getting, together and conversing about, well, the fact is, back in the day, Babalawo was getting high as a kite.
Still happening.
They had psychedelic drugs, just like when people going down to South America and, wherever.
The ayahuasca, that ayahuasca ceremony or ritual.
Yes, with the peyote and all that kind of stuff. We talking about Africa, a very, hot climate. So you got cannabis, you got all kinds of hallucinogenics. I got a big thick book over there talking about Ifa priests and hallucinogenics. And I'm like, why not? Why not? Not to say I'm gonna run off and do it, but the whole thing is I've been down those roads, would probably have more to do with opening my mind than a whole lot of other things, back in the day. But the whole point is that, there is that culture amongst schools, because I can't speak for all of them, because there may be some elder Babalawos say, nah, we don't do that. But there was a whole lot of them who were saying, yeah, we do. They have mushrooms and everything else growing out there. It's like, we just kind of see ourselves as, shadows of Catholicism. And we got to step out of that shit. Now, I'm telling you, and start getting real with ourselves.
Yeah.
You understand? So we got Babalawos walking around. Well, I'm a Babalawo. I'm a Babalawo. I don't know nothing about being a Babalawo. You can go buy a black belt. Okay. That don't make you a seasoned fighter. Okay. That don't make you anybody that's really taken some hits or studied, the meditational practices of, any of the art forms. Any of the art forms.
Man,
so when we talk about being a this or a that, do we rest comfortably on the misconceived notions brought about by syncretism, brought about by acculturation, and brought about by gentrification? Let's just face it. Are we just good little Christians, claiming to do what our ancestors are doing and not taking and knowing more still about Christianity and Islam than about ancient Africa?
Yeah.
Or ancient Nigerian region, to be specific, since we're talking about Ifa and Isheshe.
Yeah.
Why don't we know it? Well, because when we were kids, we weren't taught it. And when we go to Babalawos for readings as opposed to divination, it's not made a part of the empowering of self.
The divine.
And I call upon all of the Babas and Iyas to, just upgrade your elays and start not being ashamed of being African.
I say.
Beyond the superficial. All right, but I'm gonna stop there.
No, I got you. I got two more quick ones. If you got, if we can run two more off real quick. Because there was a question that was in there a while ago. Since we're on divination, I wanted to get answered that one. But one that I have real quick too is in regards to when it comes to divination, the differences in the Odus. You mentioned that it's different, I think, in Oyo or somewhere else. So I noticed that.
Well,
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, I noticed that the difference in the book that you told me to get from Bascom, the E5 book
Mhm.
on divination from William Bascom. I
Yes.
noticed that the order that they have it listed in that book is a lot
Mhm.
is a different order than all the ones that I've been studying, including what I learned in the handbook. So is that the difference that you're talking about in regards to the different
Oh,
how
no,
they number?
definitely. Now, the one cool thing about Bascom's book is
Mhm.
that he has the different orders. So, like
Gotcha.
the more
Okay.
you get into the book, you'll find one that
Ah,
has the order that
got you. Okay.
well,
So I
the
probably
only
haven't got
order
that.
that I was taught. You
Okay.
know,
Gotcha.
but when I read that book and then did cross referencing, you understand what I mean?
Mhm.
And then it became clear to me that different places have different orders,
Got
and
you.
then it became clear to me that what really is the difference.
Mm.
I mean, what really is the difference?
Yeah.
Because with the Odu speaking, they speaking. Okay. So I might order them differently
Right.
because of my school of thought
Right.
in the region that, I live in. It may be because of geographical reasons, you know. It may be for a number of things, but at the end of the day, it's not like the sky is falling.
Yeah.
Well, over here, we do it this way, and this is the only way. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not the only way. It
Yeah.
never was, and it never will be.
I said.
And we need to be okay with that,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, we really, really do. It's
That's
not.
dope though, because I've never told you or I don't know if I ever told anybody else this, but that's literally like what you just said, how you research the different, areas that's, kind of like that way of numbering they'll do is the indigenous to or what have you. You like you were saying earlier, being someone who has went, through the Ifa and the Orisha, ceremonies, it's like
Mhm,
for me, I use both, especially once I'm 85, like because I look at it like I can give a whole nother perspective. And it's,
mhm.
saying the best of both worlds because I can see it from one angle from the
Right.
Mary Day Lagoon side, but then I can also see it from a different angle from the numerical value of the E5 side. So it's like it's dope because, like you said, the Odu is speaking regardless of what number or what place in line it's in. So let's just say if we going to lunch, like we're in school, it don't matter if you're the first kid in line, the middle kid in line, or the last kid in line. As long as there's enough lunches, you still gonna eat. You know what I'm
That's
saying? So that's the
right.
way
Tell
we
the
can kind
truth.
of look at, yeah, how
Yeah.
how that goes, man. So, but yeah, that was dope, Baba. One last question we had from Mellow Minds. I wanted to get your opinion on this. So she said, or he said, I'm not sure if it was male or female, but they said, what does it mean to get perhaps? I'm assuming Etawa Meiji if you're using the cola or divination repeatedly when divining for a beginner. Baba.
Okay. Well, if you keep if you keep getting perhaps, then you have a number of options, but let's just explore two of them. All right. You can then seek out a diviner, okay, with your question, with the situation that you feel perhaps is a challenging situation. So it's like, well, I keep getting perhaps, and I'm just a beginner. Um, One alternative, uh, as stated, is to seek divination. You know, seek divination. I can seek consultation on the matter. Okay, speak with an elder who has some time. You know, um, less expensive depending on the money situation. Not necessarily going to channel me to make faux ebos. Okay, but I just need to talk about it. You know what I mean? I keep getting perhaps. So that's one alternative. Okay, right. The second is restate the question. You know, come up with a way to kind of say the same thing differently. Okay, and then cast again. All right. For example, if and I'm just speaking hypothetically, I'm not trying to pry. But let's just say, I want to talk to my daughter about some of the early stages of womanhood. She tends to think that, of course, she knows more than I do, and we're really having a rough time. I can't seem to get through to her. Okay, and I'm coming to my shrine. Okay, and I'm asking if I should do A. All right, and I cast. Okay, and I come up with Etawa, which I just did. All right. And I guess, well, perhaps, okay, perhaps. Okay. I know if it comes down to perhaps, and I read in the handbook of your religious concept that it comes down perhaps, okay? Shameless plug for the book, but that's all right, okay? Just keeping it light. And I cast again, and it comes up Etawa, and it's like, well, just say, perhaps I should put her on punishment. Perhaps I shouldn't allow her to go out anymore. And something's not feeling right about this. Am I being too hard? Perhaps. Okay. So you might switch it around. You might turn the question around and be not so much of what you should do to her, but what could you do for her? You see the difference? Doing something to her as a punishment is vastly different than doing something for her as a way of assisting her to see your point. You may should I take her to on a visit to grandma's, because grandma came up through a whole lot, and I want to see if she should come with that. Okay. So I came up with Etawa, and I come up with Etawa Ijife. Okay. So it's like, yeah, but make sure to give grandma a call. Make sure you set it up so nothing goes wrong. But you want to take your daughter, to see also what grandma has to say. Another point of view, as the women gather. All right. Mellow Minds, I just used that as an example. Okay. One, seek out a Babalawo. Two, reposition yourself. Are you going to do it to this budding female energy, or are you going to do something for it? Okay. Does that answer your question, Mellow Minds?
I'm sure I do, Baba. It takes some time sometimes with the comments to come up if
Okay.
they, if they do reply.
Yeah.
It take a little time sometimes. But yeah, with that, I got one more I'm gonna jump in on real quick too. But this one said, Chloe Dior said, Alafia, she has been baffled by the two systems. Now it gives her a better understanding. So I think the ability to look at it from both angles in regards to whether it's the Mary de Lagoon or if it's the Okwele or the King of Ifa. I think that's what she's talking about in reference to being able to see, I guess how the Odus can kind of speak through the oracle regardless of which system that it's being, used in. So what do you think about that, Baba? Real quick.
I think that is good. I mean,
You think that's the question she's asking?
My first reflex interpretation was Isheshe and syncretism.
Could be that one too, though. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she had to be a little clear, but at any rate, we give thanks that you have a better understanding.
Right. There's clarity.
Okay.
Yeah, look, it hasn't been any scattered teachings per se.
You trying to put shade on the brother. All right. I hope
No, not me, man. It's all peace and blessings, man, for real.
Yeah,
it really is. Like, yeah, I just,
anyway, but
But somebody's confirming. I'm just saying that was a beautiful testimony of the clarity received from
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, we hear you, bro.
yeah. I'm just saying what I see. I'm just saying what I see.
Amen.
Just saying what I see. But nah, it's been real, family. Like, I appreciate it, y'all. For real, it's been dope as always. Bye. You came in, did your thing. Ain't no thing like but a chicken wing, like the outcast in the dungeon would saying. So yeah, that was dope, man. For real, it was dope. You got anything you want to leave the tribe with, Baba?
Yeah, and that is just crossed my mind too.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have your leques
Mm-hmm.
and your warriors, good people, and you don't have some symbol like my obi are the coconut shells.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I have these that I've had for years. Okay, and I have these with the cowrie shells on them. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you see. About there you go. With the cowrie shells on them. All right. So, and in either case, and there are those who get the fresh obiabata, but you gotta keep in mind that the coconut shells are cousin to the obiabata because the obi wasn't grown over here in the New World. So, and plus it's a little bit harder to keep and keep up with. So I've had these 4 cowrie shells since 1990 or whatever, and they still here and they still looking good. And I'm still divine with them. But the point I'm making is, according to the Ascension paper that this institute holds as, you know, the fundamental, the basis of the teaching. By the time you get your warriors in this school of thought, okay, we are giving, okay, you the opportunity to start learning how to cast. Okay. If it's at this point nothing but yes or no responses. Okay. But this is not only the beginning of becoming a diviner through time, okay, but it's also about you becoming divine through time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to shorten the bridge, the gap. Right. So know that we are with you. Okay. We don't advertise like that. We don't, call and that for a reading and all that kind of thing. And, you know, but, no shade thrown on that. People do what they feel as though they got to do. But at the same time, this is the road if you choose to embark. Okay. If you choose to embark, you're going to learn and you're going to become. So it could start off with the 4 shells. Okay. Next thing you know, you have your Rindi Lagoon. You're moving into Babalawo or Iyanifa. Start to work with your Opale. And then with your Iking. But I can show you how to read the Obi like you read the Opale.
Mm. Mm. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm gonna quote the guy and Koshi with his comments, man. With like DJ Khaled, another one. Man, listen. Yeah, this was dope, Baba. I definitely appreciate it, man. Appreciate you all, tribe. Like, it was dope. Everybody who came out showed love as usual, chopping it up in the comments on the in the Ashe Nation and Ashe Tribe, Karade Nation, the Ojise Institute, the study group. Like, shout out to everybody, man, for all the love and support. We definitely appreciate you all, family. We got some more coming tonight. We're doing a double header, man. We got another one coming in about 15 minutes. We're going in now with the feminine energy, and look, to circle it right back to the mothers and the feminine, we're gonna do it again, man, with the balance. So that's what it's
All right.
about, man. So bye-bye. I appreciate you. And I definitely up with
Mhm.
you and holler at you, man. And I give thanks for all that you do and how you pour into the tribe and the crew, man. We definitely, I'm gonna speak for everybody, collectively. We definitely, we honor it and we are greatly appreciative of it, man, because it's what separates, I feel like, the African spirituality of Ashe away from a lot of the other places where people, have an experience. And like you said, no shade and no nothing to nobody, but it's just like we definitely organically, I just see the love that everybody comes in and has for each other. And it's like, that's what it's about. That's what a family, tribe, nation atmosphere is about. It's about love, reciprocity and giving and pouring in. So it's like, we're seeing it and it's happening. It's divine. I love it. So I give thanks to you, tribe, man, and shout out to every one of y'all. Shout out to everybody else who for showing the love and support, and we'll see y'all in a little bit. And we out, family. Peace. Odabo.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and pray.